Forced to dress. The late afternoon sunlight filtered through the blinds, casting stripes across the living room floor. I sat on the edge of the couch, my hands nervously twisting the hem of my hoodie. Normally, this was my sanctuary, a small apartment I shared with my girlfriend, Emma, where I could relax after long, exhausting days at work. But today, the air felt heavier, charged with tension I couldn't quite place. I'm Alex, a 24-year-old graphic designer by day and a secret crossdresser by night. Not that anyone in my life knew about it. Not Emma, not my friends, not even my boss. For me, dressing up wasn't just a whim. It was an escape, a way to explore a part of myself that society had convinced me to hide. My wardrobe of dresses, heels, and makeup was my private world, tucked away in the corner of my bedroom behind a false panel in my closet. Emma was smart, playful, and always full of surprises. We'd been together for 3 years, and I loved her fiercely. But with her sharp curiosity and uncanny ability to notice the smallest changes, hiding this side of me had become more nerve-wracking than thrilling. The last thing I needed was for her to stumble across my secret, especially today, when I had a feeling something unusual was coming. I had returned from work earlier than expected, the streets unusually empty, and my mind was preoccupied with the graphic project I'd been struggling to complete. As I entered the apartment, I noticed Emma wasn't in the kitchen like she usually was. A strange envelope lay on the counter, and my name was written in her elegant handwriting. My pulse quickened. Something told me this was no ordinary letter. With hesitant hands, I opened it. Inside was a note, short and blunt. I think it's time you understand what it's like to see yourself differently. Follow the instructions in the envelope. Don't ask questions. Just follow them. My stomach flipped. The note was signed only with her initials, E. My mind raced. Had she discovered my secret? Was this some sort of playful test, or something far more sinister? The instructions were clear. I was to go to my bedroom, retrieve a specific outfit she had hidden days ago, and be ready by the time she returned.
My heart pounded against my chest.
I obeyed, almost in a trance, moving toward my room. The outfit was unlike anything I had dared to try before. A soft pastel dress with delicate lace trimming, a pair of modest heels, and a wig styled in loose waves that matched Emma's favorite color. I picked it up with trembling hands. The fabric felt foreign, yet tantalizing, as if daring me to embrace this new persona. As I changed, I felt a mixture of vulnerability and excitement. Every motion, slipping on the dress, fastening the tiny hooks of the heels, brushing the wig into place, heightened my senses. I looked in the mirror and barely recognized myself. The reflection staring back was undeniably feminine, delicate, and beautiful, but also unsettling. I was no longer just Alex. I was someone else entirely, a version of me that Emma seemed intent on bringing out, forcing me into a reality I had only fantasized about privately. The sound of keys jingling outside made me jump. My mind raced, wondering if I had done something wrong or if Emma would be angry. But when she entered, her eyes lit up with a strange mix of amusement and satisfaction. "There you are," she said, her voice soft but commanding. "Perfect, just like I imagined." I froze, unsure whether to feel embarrassed, thrilled, or terrified. The tension between us was electric. Her smile was playful, yet her gaze held a weight I couldn't quite interpret. I realized then that this wasn't just a game. Emma had orchestrated this, planned it meticulously, and I was powerless to resist. I took a tentative step forward, heels clicking softly on the wooden floor. Every movement reminded me of how exposed I was, how much control I had ceded to Emma. But at the same time, there was an undeniable thrill coursing through me. My mind spun with questions and fear, but also a strange curiosity. How far would she take this? Could I endure what was coming? As she guided me toward the living room, the shadows lengthened, stretching across the walls like silent witnesses. I realized that tonight, nothing would be ordinary. The evening held a promise of suspense, of transformation, and of a test I wasn't sure I was ready for, but couldn't escape. The apartment felt smaller now, the walls pressing in with anticipation. I glanced at the mirror one last time, noticing how the wig framed my face perfectly, how the dress clung delicately to my shoulders, and how the heels made my legs feel taller, more elegant. This was more than just clothing. It was a symbol of surrender, of embracing a side of me I had always kept hidden. Emma's eyes met mine, full of expectation. "Are you ready?" she asked. Her tone carried both command and excitement, and I knew that once I nodded, there would be no turning back. I swallowed hard, my pulse racing, and whispered, I think so." And just like that, the stage was set. The night had begun. The transformation, both physical and emotional, was underway, and I had no choice but to follow Emma's lead. Every step I took in those heels, every glance in the mirror, every heartbeat would carry me deeper into a world where I was no longer fully Alex, but something new, something thrilling, and something terrifyingly exposed. The sound of the front door clicking behind me echoed in the apartment. Emma's presence lingered, a mix of expectation and mischief that sent shivers down my spine. She guided me to the living room, her hand firm but gentle on my back, ensuring I maintained an upright posture in the unfamiliar heels. Every step was a reminder that I was no longer fully myself. Alex had been left behind in my bedroom. "Good," she said, eyes scanning me from head to toe. "You're exactly how I pictured. But there's more. Tonight, you need to fully embrace this side of yourself. No hesitations." My stomach twisted. Embrace it? I barely knew how to stand without wobbling. My heart raced as I realized the weight of her words. Emma's plan wasn't just playful. It was a test, a challenge that forced me to confront my deepest insecurities and desires. I took a tentative step forward, feeling the soft brush of the dress against my thighs. The lace trimming grazed my skin, each sensation amplified by the heels elevating me in both stature and vulnerability. My hands instinctively went to the hem of the dress, adjusting it as if that could give me some control. But Emma shook her head gently. "Don't hide behind adjustments," she said. "You're beautiful. You need to feel it, not just wear it." Her words sent a jolt through me. I had never heard such affirmation in my private experiments with crossdressing. Normally, I was alone, indulging in the fantasy of becoming someone else without judgment. But now, under Emma's watchful gaze, the stakes were real. Every movement, every glance in the mirror, became an act of exposure. I hesitated, then looked at the mirror across the room. My reflection was startling. The wig framed my face perfectly, soft curls brushing against my shoulders. The dress accentuated curves I had only imagined, and the heels transformed the way I carried myself. For a moment, I almost didn't recognize the person staring back. And yet, beneath the thrill, a trembling uncertainty lingered. Emma stepped closer, guiding my hands to my hips.
"See?
This is you. Not Alex hiding in hoodies and sneakers. This is her." Her tone emphasized the word as if she were naming a new entity, a version of me that existed only under her direction. The internal conflict hit me hard. I wanted to resist, to retreat to the safety of my old life. But there was also an undeniable curiosity, a spark of excitement at being seen, fully and unapologetically, as someone I had only dared to imagine privately. My pulse quickened. The mix of fear and thrill became intoxicating. Emma's instructions continued. She had prepared a series of tasks, small challenges to make me move and act naturally in the outfit. First, I was to walk across the living room, balancing carefully on the heels while maintaining poise. Then, she wanted me to pour tea in the kitchen without spilling, a test of grace under pressure. Each activity, mundane in theory, became a crucible for my vulnerability. As I walked, the heels clicking against the wooden floor, I felt the eyes of the mirror on me, and the eyes of Emma. Every misstep or falter heightened the tension. I could sense her anticipation, the quiet excitement that mirrored my own nervous energy. My hands trembled slightly, and I felt a flush rise to my cheeks. "Relax," she said softly, placing a hand on my shoulder. "I want you to feel this. The dress, the heels, Every sensation is part of the experience. Let go of fear. I tried. I focused on the tactile sensations, the soft fabric of the dress, the gentle support of the heels, the wig brushing against my neck. Slowly, the tension eased. My steps became more confident, my movements more fluid. I caught myself smiling in the mirror, a smile that felt foreign and yet exhilarating. But just as I began to feel a sense of ease, Emma introduced the next layer of suspense. She handed me a small box, wrapped delicately in pastel paper. Inside was a set of makeup, foundation, eyeliner, mascara, and lip gloss. The instructions were simple: apply everything without looking at a mirror until she instructed otherwise. My heart skipped a beat. Applying makeup blind was a challenge even for seasoned crossdressers. But the thrill of the unknown, the element of risk, made my pulse race. I carefully followed her instructions, the brush gliding across my face, smudges and uneven lines threatening to betray my inexperience. Emma watched silently, her eyes gleaming with a mix of amusement and pride. "Perfect," she said finally, as I hesitated. "You're doing exactly as I imagined. But now, the final touch." She handed me a pair of earrings, delicate and shimmering. I felt a wave of self-consciousness as I fastened them, the cool metal against my ears, a small but significant transformation. I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror. Heels, dress, wig, makeup, and earrings, and realized I had become a completely new person. Someone vulnerable, exposed, and yet undeniably beautiful. The suspense of the situation intensified as Emma stepped back, assessing me fully. "You've done well," she said. "But the real challenge begins when you leave this room. When you step into the world, or even just the hallway, you have to carry this persona with confidence."
Can you do that?
I swallowed hard, feeling the weight of the challenge. Every step outside the bedroom, every movement in the apartment, would be a test of poise, courage, and secrecy. My body was transformed, but my mind was still Alex, torn between fear and exhilaration. Emma's eyes softened. "Remember, it's not just about the clothes. It's about how you feel. If you believe in her, even just a little, you'll carry this perfectly." I nodded, unsure whether to believe her or to doubt myself. But the thrill of the transformation, the intoxicating mix of fear, curiosity, and excitement, made me take the first tentative step toward the living room again. The heels clicked against the floor, the dress swaying gently, and I felt a strange sense of liberation. Even as my pulse raced and my mind screamed caution, a part of me realized that I was beginning to enjoy this. The vulnerability, the exposure, the challenge, it all created a heady cocktail of sensations I had never experienced before. Emma had forced me into a new reality, and whether I wanted to admit it or not, I was starting to embrace it. The suspense mounted further when Emma revealed her final surprise. She had invited someone over. A neighbor, friendly but sharp-eyed, would arrive at any moment. I had to maintain the persona flawlessly, with no mistakes, no slips. The thought made my stomach churn, and yet my heart raced with anticipation. As I waited, adjusting the dress, balancing carefully in my heels, I felt the full weight of what Emma had orchestrated. She had pushed me into a corner, forced me to embrace a side of myself I had kept hidden for years, and now I had to perform under pressure. Every sound, every glance, every heartbeat heightened the suspense. And in that moment, I understood. Tonight wasn't just about dresses and makeup. It was about transformation, physically, emotionally, and psychologically. Emma had forced me to confront my deepest fears, my desires, and my vulnerabilities. And whether I succeeded or faltered, I knew that by the end of this evening, I would never be the same person again. The soft chime of the doorbell made my stomach drop. Emma's mischievous smile told me everything. I had to meet the neighbor fully transformed. No excuses. My heart pounded, a frantic rhythm echoing through my chest as I smoothed the dress over my hips and adjusted the wig. Every movement felt magnified, every breath a countdown to exposure. Emma leaned close, whispering in my ear, "Remember, confidence. You are her now. Don't falter." I nodded, though my hands trembled slightly. Taking a deep breath, I forced my shoulders back and stepped toward the door, the heels clicking sharply against the hardwood. My reflection in the hallway mirror stared back at me. Alex gone, replaced by a poised, vulnerable, and undeniably feminine figure. The door opened, and there she was, the neighbor, smiling warmly but sharp-eyed, carrying a small plate of cookies. I forced a polite smile, my voice slightly higher than usual, betraying the tension.
"Hi. I brought some cookies," she said.
Thought I'd drop by and, oh, her eyes widened slightly as they swept over me. I felt my cheeks burn. The thought that she might see through the transformation made every muscle in my body tense. But Emma's hand on my back steadied me. "Just act natural," she whispered. I took a step forward, forcing the words out. "Thank you. That's very kind of you." My voice wavered at first, but gradually, I found a rhythm, a cadence that felt less forced. The neighbor's eyes lingered on me, curious, but not judgmental.
Small talk began.
I poured tea, my hands shaking slightly as the porcelain cup nearly tipped. The neighbor's soft chuckle masked any suspicion, and for a moment, I felt a fleeting relief. I could do this. I could survive this. But then, disaster struck. As I gestured toward the couch, one heel caught the edge of the rug, and I stumbled. My heart raced, my balance teetering on the edge. The neighbor instinctively reached out, steadying me, and I felt a flush of embarrassment. Emma's sharp whisper cut through my panic. "Don't let this break you. Recover gracefully." I straightened, adjusting the dress, and lifting my chin. My pulse slowed slightly as I realized I hadn't completely failed. The neighbor's smile reassured me, though I could feel the sweat on my palms and the rapid beating of my heart. Conversation continued, but the tension never fully left. Every sound outside the apartment, every creak of the floor, heightened my anxiety. Emma occasionally interjected, guiding my responses, but I knew the ultimate test was mine alone. Could I maintain this persona without faltering? The neighbor's curiosity grew. You're very confident. Have you always been like this?" she asked gently. I froze. The question pierced through my carefully constructed facade. My mind raced. How much could I reveal without exposing the truth? I chose my words carefully, keeping them vague but believable. I've always been interested in experimenting with different styles, I said, my voice calm despite the chaos inside. It's something I enjoy. Helps me feel more like myself. The neighbor nodded, accepting the explanation, but I could sense her mind churning with curiosity. Every glance, every slight smile was a test of my composure. Emma's eyes met mine across the room, a silent encouragement mixed with challenge. I realized that the evening wasn't just about appearances. It was about my courage, my willingness to embrace vulnerability, and my ability to perform under pressure. Then came the unexpected twist. A sudden knock at the door, louder than before, made my heart lurch. Emma's expression shifted, a flicker of concern crossing her face. "Alex, or rather, her handle this," she murmured, stepping back slightly. The neighbor's eyes widened.
"Oh."
"I think someone else is at the door." I froze, the adrenaline surging through me. Whoever it was, they weren't supposed to see me like this. My mind raced. A friend, a family member, the landlord. Anyone could shatter the illusion I had painstakingly created. I approached the door cautiously, the heels clicking ominously. I peeked through the peephole, my pulse threatening to burst through my chest. And there he was, my coworker, smiling casually, holding a stack of papers. He had no idea. I hoped. "Hey, oh." His eyes widened as they fell on me. You look different?" Panic clawed at my chest. My carefully constructed persona teetered on the edge. I could feel my hands trembling, my voice ready to betray me. Emma's voice, sharp and commanding, snapped me back. "Smile. Be confident. You are her," she whispered. I took a shaky breath and forced a smile, steadying my trembling hands. "Hi. Just trying something new," I said, my tone higher than normal but steady. "I hope it's okay?" The coworker blinked, a moment of confusion passing over his face. Yeah, of course." Wow, his words trailed off, leaving room for ambiguity. Relief washed over me. I had survived the first test, barely. But then came the symbolic moment. The wig slipped slightly as I adjusted a strand of hair, a reminder that my transformation was fragile. One small misstep could reveal everything. I reached up, carefully adjusting it without drawing too much attention, feeling the vulnerability and exhilaration intertwine. Emma's approving nod gave me a surge of confidence. The night had pushed me to the brink, forced me to embrace every aspect of my crossdressing persona and survive under scrutiny. And though the challenge was far from over, I felt a strange sense of empowerment. I was no longer hiding. I was performing fully and unapologetically. Yet, even as the tension eased slightly, a lingering doubt remained. The neighbor would leave soon, the co-worker would eventually come closer, and Emma's challenges were far from finished. Every step, every glance, every heartbeat was a reminder that the evening was a delicate balance between exposure and mastery. And just as I began to think I had navigated the worst, a new sound reached my ears, the unmistakable creak of the building's front stairs. Another visitor? Or Emma, returning unexpectedly? My pulse raced. The climax of suspense was not over. The world had narrowed to the heels beneath my feet, the dress brushing my thighs, the wig framing my face, and the constant, thrilling awareness that any moment could shatter the fragile facade I had built. Every sensation, every decision, every heartbeat contributed to a crescendo of tension that left me trembling, exhilarated, and completely transformed. The neighbor had finally left, her footsteps fading down the hall, leaving a quiet tension in the apartment. My knees felt like jelly, but I forced myself to stand tall, heels clicking against the hardwood as I adjusted the dress one last time. The adrenaline still surged, leaving my heart pounding in my chest. Emma approached, her expression unreadable. "Not bad," she said softly, her eyes scanning me from head to toe. "But the night isn't over." My stomach dropped. I had survived the test with the neighbor and the unexpected co-worker, but Emma's cryptic words made it clear this was only the beginning. I swallowed hard, my hands shaking slightly. A sudden sound at the door made me spin around. Another knock, deliberate and firm. My breath caught in my throat. Emma's lips curved into a sly smile. "Looks like you have one more challenge." I approached the door cautiously, each step in my heels a mix of excitement and fear. Peeking through the peephole, I saw a shadowy figure I couldn't immediately recognize. My mind raced. Friend, family, someone from work? Whoever it was, they weren't supposed to see me like this. Emma's whisper broke the tension. "Remember, confidence. Own it. You are her now." I took a deep breath, straightened my shoulders, and opened the door. The figure stepped inside. My reflection in the hallway mirror caught my eyes just as they widened in shock. It was someone from my past, someone I hadn't seen in years. Their gaze lingered on me, taking in the heels, the dress, the carefully applied makeup, and the wig. "Wow," was all they could say, and in that instant, I realized how fragile my transformation was. One wrong word, one surprised glance, and my secret life could unravel completely. Emma's hand pressed gently on my back, grounding me. "You can do this," she whispered. I forced a smile, my voice slightly higher than usual but steady. "Hi, it's good to see you." The figure tilted their head, curiosity mixed with confusion in their eyes. "You will look different," they said. "Really different." Panic clawed at me. Every muscle tensed. Could I maintain this facade? I was on the edge, caught between exhilaration and fear. I wanted to flee, but Emma's gaze held me in place. I was trapped in my own transformation, forced to navigate the delicate line between exposure and survival. A soft creak from the hallway made me flinch. Another potential interruption, another test of composure. My heart pounded, every breath shallow, my mind spinning with the possibilities. Would they understand? Would they judge? Or would they embrace this new side of me? Emma squeezed my hand, giving me the smallest nod. "Remember who you are for now." I nodded, swallowing the lump in my throat. The figure's eyes lingered, searching, questioning. I felt the weight of every secret, every hidden desire, every moment I had cross-dressed in private. Everything was on display now, and yet I had to keep smiling, keep moving, keep performing. And then, as I opened my mouth to speak again, the sound of the elevator dinging echoed through the building. Another visitor? Another threat? My pulse surged. My secret, my transformation, everything was hanging by a thread. I looked at Emma, her expression unreadable yet knowing. "Your choice," she whispered. "Do you hide or do you face it?" The room seemed to shrink around me, the mirror reflecting both Alex and the girl I had become. I realized, in that suspended moment, that nothing would ever be the same. Every step I took, every word I spoke, every glance I made from now on was a challenge, a risk, a thrill. The figure at the door took a step closer, and my breath caught. The elevator pinged again, and from the corner of my eye, I saw movement in the hallway, shadows approaching fast. The screen would fade to black here, leaving viewers on edge, wondering, would I be exposed? How would the figure react to seeing me like this? What surprises or dangers awaited in the next episode? The tension was palpable. My heels clicked as I shifted, adjusting the dress one last time, my reflection splitting into two in the mirror, one part terrified, one part exhilarated. The story paused on that unresolved note, a perfect cliffhanger to keep viewers eagerly waiting.